I've chosen silver, and I'm convinced it is the number one investment. If you said, Shawn, there's only one investment you could participate in, it would be silver.
Today's guest is a supporting sponsor of Liberty in Finance.
Welcome back to Liberty in Finance. We're delighted to have a returning guest whom the last time we were with was at the Rick Rule Symposium on Natural Resource Investing in Boca Raton, Florida. We're talking about the CEO of Dolly Varden Silver, Shawn Khunkhun, and we're interviewing Shawn. Today is Thursday, November 13, 2025. Shawn, thanks for coming back on Liberty in Finance.
Delighted to be here, Donegan. Nice to see you.
You've been appearing all over independent media, and it's great to see the story coming out at this exciting time. In fact, I just have to give a shout out to you and to Dolly Varden because you've been beating the drum for the case for the undervalued condition of silver as the most undervalued asset for some time now. And Dolly Varden is one of the most promising candidates to find high purity and high grade deposits in your jurisdiction that you're working in. Can you please we have so many new subscribers since the last time we met. Can you remind us about why silver has had your attention and has been your target for so long?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, it's a personal story, growing up, to two Indian parents, growing up in Vancouver, Canada. My parents had come over from India in their early 20s. And so as I was growing up as a kid, my parents, they had some of their wealth in gold. Right. That was a long tradition in the family where, we come from a long line of farmers. And those farmers, when they'd have a good harvest, would expand the farmland or they would save in gold. And so I grew up with that principle that, currencies come and go, but real wealth and real value and real money is gold. And so I came into the gold mining industry when I was 22 years old. And I got behind a geologist, and we built a gold mining company from 2004 to 2011. That was quite successful. It went from inception to about $1.5 billion valuation. We did quite well for our investors, and we put 600 people to work full time, and it was just a really wonderful experience. I made more money speculating in silver stocks in 6 months than I did building a gold mining company. So my lesson was, and I wasn't done again. I didn't know much about silver. I was so gold focused and gold centric. And I was, I was in my 20s and I was learning, and I didn't have the bandwidth or, brain capability to take in the information about anything other than gold. I was learning how to build a company, and I couldn't think about silver. I couldn't learn about copper. It was just gold centric. But something happened in September of 2010 where I made a significant silver investment, and it went up 1,100% in 6 months. And then it just caught my attention. And I thought, there's something here I need to focus on, and I started studying history, and I started understanding the relationship, both the natural relationship between silver and gold, and how, silver and gold have, really acted as money for the last 5,000 years. And then I started really realizing how scarce silver deposits were. So the takeaway, my long-winded answer and conclusion is I sought out a silver-centric opportunity because I was convinced we were headed back into a time where gold was going to become very relevant. So I left the precious metals mining industry in 2011, and I started focusing on base metal mining, copper mining, zinc mining from 2011 to 2014. I came back to gold in 2014. I came back to silver in 2018. And I was deliberate in seeking out a silver-centric opportunity because not only does silver outperform gold in a precious metals bull market, but what's changed, Donegan, since the last time silver was relevant, 2011, or very relevant. 1979, 1980, what's changed is the industrial demand for silver has significantly increased. So this next time, and we're in it, we're in it right now. This next time that monetary bid comes in for silver, the investors who are seeking safety outside of dollars and are going to look for silver to play the role that gold plays as a hedge, as a safety against systemic risk, as a hedge against bad government decisions, as a hedge against the fiat currency. Those monetary precious metals investors are going to be competing with industrial buyers who need the metal for solar panels, for EVs, for the military industrial complex. There's 500 ounces of silver that go into a Tomahawk missile. So what we've seen is a 200 million ounce annual deficit for silver. And so I've chosen silver, and I'm convinced it is the greatest investment in this moment in ever. It is the number one investment. If you said, Shawn, there's only one investment you could participate in, it would be silver. And I think that now we're starting to see the world wake up to this idea. The Indian Central Bank is thinking about introducing it as collateral in their banking system. The RBI, the Reserve Bank of India, is looking to do that at a 10-to-1 silver to gold ratio, which, Dunnigan, would imply a silver price of $400 an ounce today.
This has been, in some ways, the pre-fulfillment of what you've anticipated all along as you've built the company and focused on silver. There aren't that many companies that are primarily focused on silver, Dolly Varden being one of them. Help us understand where Dolly Varden is focusing on silver and what Dolly Varden is trying to accomplish right now to help bring more of that silver online to meet that imbalanced supply and demand the structural deficit that you've pointed out.
So it's interesting. Silver is not evenly distributed throughout the gold in its geological natural setting. It's not endowed equally. There are certain places where silver is mined. Mexico is the number one silver producing nation in the world. Peru and China are right behind Mexico in terms of big production. So finding silver is difficult. And just to tell you how difficult it is, if we look at North America, there is some silver in North America. Idaho, Nevada have historically been known for big silver endowment. But outside of a few places, it's very, very difficult to find silver. Now, one of those places that hosts big silver mines is just so happens to be in my backyard, which I live in Vancouver. So just north of Vancouver, about a 1.5 hour flight north to Terrace, is an area that we refer to as the Golden Triangle. So the Golden Triangle is a mining district that's been operating since the 1890s uninterrupted, and it hosts the Premier Mine, which was the most profitable gold mine in North America when it was operating. It hosts the Eskay Creek deposit, which is the greatest precious metals mine in the history of the world, and it hosts the Brucejack mine, which the world's second largest gold producer, Newmont, is operating. So what I've done is I've built Dolly Varden in the Golden Triangle. We've got a large land package, which includes 5 past producing silver mines, including what was the richest primary silver mine in the district. And the district has uncovered 1.2 billion ounces of silver in the last 30 years alone. So there's a lot of silver that, we've also found an additional 150 million ounces of gold in that 30-year period as well. So my strategy has been, I believe we're at a time in the world where we're moving away from globalization, we're contracting, right? We're focused on, you've got a president who's focused on, reshoring and, focused on Buy America and focused on making the United States competitive from a tax standpoint. And so I saw that trend emerging as we've swung back from the globalization. And so I thought, as we move into this new era, having a project in a safe jurisdiction where you had stability, where you had certainty, was going to be crucial. So I stayed away from Peru. I deliberately stayed away from jurisdictions like Mexico and Argentina, and I focused all of my time and my efforts in my backyard where, I speak the same language, same time zone, same currency. I understand the laws, and the geological endowment is significant. So our company has grown as we've increased our mineral inventory through acquisitions and drilling. And I've brought about $185 million of capital into the company to accomplish those goals of building that future mineral inventory.
Just this week, Dolly Varden announced some rather impressive drill program results. You've talked to us to our viewers and subscribers about your drill programs in the past, and for example in Canada, how they sometimes have to be focused in the summer season because of natural weather availability of drilling and access and that sort of thing. You've got some rather impressive results to report right now. Help us understand what it is you're finding, because you've teased us and tantalized us in the past with some potentials about what you're learning about the geology of the area where you're working specifically, and what Rick Rule always talks about, the answering the unanswered questions. What are you finding out right now, and how is it helping to paint a more complete picture of the resource that you're looking at?
It's a great question. So the mineralizing event that brought in the big deposits in the area is something that scientists have been studying for over 100 years. And there's certain, I'll use the term predictability, based on different ages of rocks, Jurassic age rocks versus the Triassic, different formations, the Stahini versus the Hazelton. And so understanding what rocks you're in, how old those rocks are, helps you define where to look for big deposits. And it's within the 2-kilometer unconformity of these two systems where the fluids came up and deposits were endowed. And so our scientists have a lot of tools in their tool belt in terms of looking at structure. Structure plays a big role. If you don't have those fluid pathways, deposits can't be formed. So we've done LiDAR surveys to pick up the structures. We've done geochemical surveys. We've done geophysical surveys, and we've taken all the modern tools and we've run them actually through artificial intelligence, which has sped up what would historically have taken decades, we can actually now do in a weekend. And those programs have spun out targets, and then our scientists rank the targets. And what we've been able to generate here this year alone, consistently November, October, September, the best drill results. Okay. And what we've done again is we're multiplying the grams of silver or gold, so grams per ton, multiplied by the width of the strike in meters. So we're taking the grams, we're multiplying it by the width, and what that calculation works out to being is that number is, we're coming out with the best gram meter intervals the project's ever seen in the 100-year history of the project. So you're right to point out 3 days ago on November 10th, we came out with results from our Homestake silver deposit. And what happens with these systems is the silver and the gold have different melting temperatures, right? So gold and for instance, copper melt at a higher temperature than, say, silver, lead, zinc. And so based on that, we have different parts of our system. Some are silver rich, some are gold rich. So in a gold rich zone, we just drilled, it was approximately 14 meters of approximately 26 grams per ton of gold. And so it's a very significant strike. It works out to something like about 385 gram meters. And just to put that into context, anytime you have better than 100 gram meter interval, that is the earmarks of a discovery that has the potential to become a mineable deposit. Now, one thing that we're aided at Dolly Varden is we have past producing mines. We have 5 past producing mines. And what I tell my team and what I tell my investors is, if these mines were profitable, let's go back to 1959 when the Torbert mine was operating, silver was 85 cents an ounce. So if it was profitable to run the mine from 1949 to 1959 at sub-$1 silver prices, I feel confident that in this new price environment we're in, where silver's gone from $16 to $50, I feel confident that there may be an economic case here to look at bringing these mines back into production.
I wanted to share at this point some of the graphics from your press release. So we'll put them in here as you're describing this, because the visuals are just astonishing. And some of them depict exactly what you were describing. Some of your drill program penetrating areas of the previously known big name mines, and some of these core samples that are reflecting some of the high grade silver that you're discovering there. Where does this lead Dolly Varden next? And if potential investors have been on the fence and now are considering if this is the right time to take a step into being a part owner of Dolly Varden as a stockholder, what should past history of times like this in previous bull markets, such as you've lived through in around 1980 and also around 2010, lead us to expect it may be? Why is this time so special for a potential investor?
In terms of why now, and I think it's really important to state my vision, what's the business model, and what is the strategy to execute that model. This is my belief. My belief is silver and gold are going to protect you from government stupidity. And they're going to be a store of wealth. They're going to be a hedge against inflation. They're going to be a hedge against systemic risk. Now, you should go out and you should own some physical silver and gold. Now, what the mining stocks, the mining equities do is they're a proxy. They're a leverage to that underlying bullion. The bullion's the best place to be. But where the mining stocks have a lot of performance is, I'll give you an example. So when I started with Dolly Varden, we had about 40 million ounces of silver estimated through our third-party verification studies. And that 40 million ounces of silver was valued at pennies an ounce in the ground. Today, with the price rising, and with our successful exploration and acquisitive transactions, where we've acquired more silver, we found more silver, and with the price rising, why our share price has gone up, why the value of the company has increased, is because as that silver becomes worth more, so does the metal that we have in the ground. And so my next step in this strategy, as we've grown from a $20 million business to a $500 million business, as the share price has gone, from 50 cents to $4 USD, the next step now is we need to start focusing on operations. So in terms of upcoming catalysts, yes, we have more drill results coming. And I'll give you an example. On Monday, the gold price was up $100. The silver price was up over $1. And a lot of the mining equities were up 3%. Well, our shares were up 8% on Monday, and I believe the reason for that was because of the find, because of the discovery, because of the positive drill results. So I have 80 more drill results coming, and if they're positive, we should outperform our peers if we're adding to that mineral inventory. But to the second component there is I'm looking to try to accomplish more accretive M&A transactions. We've successfully completed 5. So if you look at there's a presentation on our website that takes you through all the results, that takes you through the strategy, that takes you through our place in the market. It also talks about upcoming catalysts. And upcoming catalysts are those drill results, but they're also more due diligence on further M&A transactions.
That's the other aspect that you've whetted our potential investors' appetites for some time, is that Dolly Varden continues to build value and define more and more value in the resource in the ground, and becomes an ever more attractive potential takeover target for merger and acquisition activity, as you just alluded to. What about Dolly Varden is likely to look appealing to a potential takeover so that future investors would know what they're owning if they buy into a share of Dolly Varden, and why it might be a particular interest going forward?
The soundbite I can give you is, size meets grade in a safe jurisdiction. But the reality is it's far more complicated than that. The number one challenge investors are going to face is access. How supportive are the communities? Do you have social license? So I think the number one thing a mining company is going to look at is, are we wanted here? People don't want to put their energy in this place where they're not wanted. So the number one thing that we've done is we've done a pretty good job working with the local communities, creating jobs, creating mutually beneficial arrangements. And so we have access and support from our local communities. We have a high-grade project that's got some tremendous infrastructure, including power and roads and deep water access, so that we've got social license, we've got a high-grade deposit, we've got good infrastructure. We're located in, a stable part of the world where, the Canadian economy there's a major pillar to the Canadian economy is the natural resource sector and the mining sector. And, Dunnigan, the next time you're up here in the north, you'll see people wear T-shirts, without mining, we're naked. And it's true. It's a foundation to our economy.
Shawn, for people who want to follow up and find out more about Dolly Varden, we're going to include in the description of this video a link to your most recent press release that just came out this Monday about your latest drill results, and also to your homepage of Dolly Varden. Any other quick tips for those who want to find out more?
We're very active on social media, so platforms like X and LinkedIn. And we love talking to investors, so please reach out to us. And my goal, I just want to finish with saying, my goal is to create a silver mining company, the largest that trades on the S&P 500. I'd like to create the first silver mining company that goes to the S&P 500.
Well, we are grateful for your presence here always, your measured and thoughtful approach to explaining things in a very patient manner, and the educational emails that you put out as well to help people understand some of the backstory and the context around the meaning behind some of these press releases is extremely helpful to our subscribers and our viewers. And we're just grateful, as always, Shawn, for your presence here with us on Liberty and Finance.
Thank you, Donnie.